Even your son agrees you're a disappointment. My wife laughed during family dinner. He told me he hopes he never ends up like you. My teenage son just looked down at his plate, silent. Last Sunday, I was making dinner while my son Eric, 16, set the table. My wife Amanda scrolled through her phone. Dad, when are we going to Italy like you promised? Eric asked. Once the Henderson project wraps up. Maybe spring break. Amanda snorted. Your father's been saying that for 3 years. I'd put in 60-hour weeks at the architecture firm I'd helped build from the ground up. It paid for the house, the cars, her master's degree, and would cover Eric's college. Not glamorous enough for Amanda's taste, but it kept everything running. How's school going? I asked Eric. Before he could answer, Amanda jumped in. He's doing fine despite having an absent father. Got an A on that history paper you were too busy to help with. I looked at Eric. I thought you didn't need help with that one. He shrugged, eyes fixed on his plate. He didn't want to bother you, Amanda continued. Even your son agrees you're a disappointment. He told me he hopes he never ends up like you. The kitchen went silent. Eric's face drained of color. He didn't deny it, just stared at his plate, shoulders hunched. I'm sorry you both feel that way, I said quietly. Oh, don't get all wounded, Amanda waved dismissively. It's not like this is news. I finished in silence, went to my home office, closed the door, sat in the dark. It wasn't the first cutting remark, but using my son against me crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Eric's silence felt like confirmation. That night, I reviewed our finances. 17 years of marriage distilled into spreadsheets. The second mortgage for Amanda's degree, which I'd been paying alone despite our agreement to split it. The tuition check for her final semester sat in her purse. $14,000 I'd written the previous week. Morning came. I waited until they both left. Then I made 3 calls. My attorney, who wasn't surprised. My bank, where I removed myself from joint accounts, leaving enough for 2 months of expenses. My friend Marcus, who had a vacant rental property. I retrieved the tuition check from Amanda's purse. Not stealing, just taking back what hadn't been cashed yet. I left a note. I'm taking some time away. The joint account has enough for 2 months. My cell is on if Eric needs me. Then I went silent. 2 days later, Amanda discovered the tuition check was gone. 15 missed calls. Voicemails escalating from confused to threatening. You can't just take that money. My lawyer will destroy you. I didn't engage. A week later, Eric called. Dad, Mom says you abandoned us. That you took all the money. I left enough for 2 months of expenses. I just redirected my paychecks to my personal account. And Mom's tuition check? That was my money, Eric. Before hanging up, he asked, is this because of what Mom said about me saying those things? Did you say them? His voice dropped to a whisper. Not exactly. She kept asking if I was disappointed you missed my science fair. I just said I wished you'd been there. She kind of took it from there. Something tight in my chest loosened. 2 weeks after I left, Amanda and Eric showed up at my door. She looked thinner, shadows under her eyes. You need to come home. This has gone on long enough. I'm not coming back. Because of one comment? That's ridiculous. It wasn't one comment. It was the last in a very long series. I asked Eric to give us a few minutes. Once he was outside, I turned back to her. I'm not funding your degree anymore. After everything I've sacrificed, what exactly have you sacrificed? I paid for the degree. I covered expenses while you studied. I arranged my schedule around your classes. I put my career on hold to raise Eric. Partners don't turn their children against each other. The divorce papers have been filed. Her face paled. Divorce? Over 17 years of this. She switched tactics. Eyes welling. David, please. I was frustrated. You're always frustrated. Always unhappy with something I've done. I'm tired. What about Eric? That's why you're keeping the house until he graduates. That's why I've arranged generous support. And my degree? Student loans. Teaching assistantships. The same options other adults use. I'll take everything. There's nothing to take. The house is accounted for. Retirement is protected. Eric's college fund is in an irrevocable trust. The anger drained from her face, replaced by uncertainty. She called Eric in. Your father's divorcing me. Eric looked at me, something like relief flickering across his features. Can I still see you? As much as you want. My door is always open. Actually, Eric said. Could I stay for a bit? Talk to Dad? Amanda stared at him, then left without another word. Once the door closed, Eric's shoulders sagged. Is this really happening? I'm sorry it's come to this. Don't be, he said quietly. It's been hard at home for a long time. When he finally left, he hugged me tightly. I didn't say those things, Dad. Not the way she said them. I know, buddy. I know. 6 weeks later, Eric stays with me on alternating weekends.